Bring it to the stage right now. This man needs no introduction. Y'all seen him around town. Y'all seen him in every battle. Y'all seen him on TV. Y'all heard him on the radio. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you right now at this time, the one and only DJ Jaycee.
You're now listening to the legendary Vinyl Esquire.
Motherfucker, itching for a scratch, itching for a scratch like DJ Jaycee. Motherfucker, DJ
Vinyl Esquire.
Motherfucker,
Vinyl Esquire.
motherfucker.
We go by the name of DJ Jaycee, everybody. J in the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, my brother.
Vinyl Esquire. Vinyl Esquire.
Vinyl Esquire. Culture, truth, music.
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, the podcast that delivers culture, truth, music. Would you join me, please, in welcoming DJ Rip?
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, and my name is DJ Rip, and Vinyl Esquire is the DJ podcast where we uplift the DJ culture and honor our legends. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the legendary DJ, the legendary turntablist. I would like to welcome to Vinyl Esquire, the legendary DJ Jaycee.
What up? What's going on, Rip?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good, brother. Just chilling.
Well, thank you for allowing me to interview you for Vinyl Esquire.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity to, share a few stories. Sure.
So, Jaycee, why don't you tell me who or what made you want to be a DJ?
Well, of course, most of us will say Jam Master Jay. Then there are some who will say, seeing Grandmaster Flash, that was their main inspiration. But at the time, when the love for the art form first bit me, I was in junior high school in Detroit, and a guy who was an upperclassman at Henry Ford High School used to come do our dances, right? And his name is Mike. I can't remember his last name right now. This is crazy. The motherfucker who got me into it. Anyway, he used to come do our dances.
Okay.
And I would come sit in the gym, while the rest of my classmates, chasing girls around the gym. I'm posted up in the bleachers paying attention to this guy who got two 1200s. It was big. Mixers weren't small back then. So this guy had this big thing in the middle, which of course, we later learned, was the mixer. But, he was controlling everybody's emotion by just playing the right music and keeping the music continuous, right? I was hearing records in ways that I had never heard them,
Gotcha.
So
okay,
just like I'm talking about like a continuous mix. And I was just my mind was blown. I literally wrote down every record that he was playing, and then with my allowance, I started buying records.
So what year would you say this was?
Well, this was 83 going into 84.
Okay.
When I first saw DJing up close and personal. I guess that's really what I'm saying. The first time that I actually saw DJing up close and personal is what made me want to. This is what made me want to do it. So this is 83 going into 84. So this is when records like Beatbox by Art of Noise was out. Johnson Cruz, Space Cowboy, and Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams Are Made. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Felix and Jarvis. They were the hometown Detroit artists. So they had records going crazy on the radio. Records like Jam the House and Flamethrower Rap, and then you had things like Captain Rock to the Future Shock, and like all these things. I'm hearing these records on the radio, So yeah, the guy playing them at the dance, I just started buying records every weekend, and trying to make my own little mixtapes with the pause button on a boombox that I got for Christmas.
Right.
So go ahead.
So what year would you say that you actually started DJing then?
Okay, I would say 93. I would say 93. That was when I got hired by the AKAs on the campus of University of Georgia to do their party, their end of the year school party.
Got you. Okay, so let's back up. So you would say that you started DJing in 1993. So obviously that means, professionally, right? Outside of just practicing. Okay, so let's back up because, there had to be a lot that happened in Jaycee's life from 84 to 93. So talk to me about, the early years. Was Jaycee, was DJ Jaycee your first DJ name?
No, it was not.
Okay.
My first, I wanted to name myself Jazzy J at first. Now this was before Beat Street came out.
Okay.
And of course, seeing Beat Street and, buying the album, because Breaker's Revenge was like my jam. So, reading the credits, it's like, somebody has that name already, right? So I moved back to Atlanta, and then in high school, I decided I called myself DJ Detroit at first, because there was a DJ at another high school in the area who his name was DJ New York. So
gotcha. Yep.
It was just a matter. It was a hometown pride kind of thing. Here I am. I'm in Decatur, Georgia, but I'm still Detroit to death. So I wanted to be DJ Detroit first, and that didn't necessarily pan out. Like one because it was a while before I was able to get my own equipment. So I had to practice on other people's setups in the neighborhood. Right. So right in my neighborhood, like right off of McAfee and Candler Road, within a 2 to 3 mile radius, there was at least 7 or 8 people that had turntable setups. So, I was always walking distance from being able to go and practice my craft on, over someone's house. So move up to 88. Most of us know him as KP, Kawan Prather,
right?
Who is affiliated with, Dungeon Family, one for being the DJ for Parental Advisory, which was the first group out of Dungeon Family. But then, from being the DJ for PA, he was hired by LaFace Records. He was a good A&R guy. He discovered T.I., Young Bloods, blah, blah, blah. But going back to 88, Kawan had cousins that used to hang out, in our neighborhood. He had a cousin who was a part of this gang called Down by Law. And, they used to break into people's houses and, get that 5-finger discount on things.
Okay.
And KP found himself in possession of a turntable that he couldn't bring home. So he sold me a 1200 for $50.
Wow. Okay, hold on. So let's back up a little bit. I think we jumped over something here. So wait. So what made you move to Atlanta from Detroit to begin with?
Family. My parents first got married on Christmas Eve '78. My dad had a job in Atlanta, so he relocated us.
Gotcha.
From Detroit to Atlanta. Then, when they got divorced, it was a kind of a nasty custody dispute going on, so while all that was going on, I went back to Detroit until it was squared away.
Got you. Okay. So that's what you meant by, you said you moved back to Atlanta. Okay.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, what made you want to be a trick DJ versus just a club DJ or versus just a regular radio DJ? What made you want to get into, doing tricks and cutting and scratching and whatnot?
Hearing audio tapes of Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money. Also, in my neighborhood of Decatur, this particular section of Decatur I lived in, we had people, we had a guy who was from Philadelphia who also went to my school. He's perished now. He used to skip school. you know, he used to go back to Philly, you know, come back, you know, with drugs and stuff to sell. And, you know, it was on one of his many runs, he would come back and he had these tapes of Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money cutting up records like It's Time and Dance to the Drummer's Beat and Houdini's Big Mouth.
Right.
Fat Boys, I want to say it was Human Beatbox. You know, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Fast Life, you know, records like these were on these tapes, and I'm hearing them just being cut up in so many, you know, Cash Money style, you know, Jazzy Jeff style. Absolutely. You know, they got this way of cutting things and they're so clean that, you know, making their own different rhythms out of stuff, and it's so clean, so crisp and clean that if you were trying to dance to it, you could dance to it without losing beat. And, you know, there were no videos back then. So, you know, hearing, you had to imagine,
right,
you know, what they were doing, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, that got my ear at first. Then, of course, you know, going to concerts, seeing, you know, DJs cut records back and forth. There was a time when Grandmaster Flash came down to Atlanta during the Fresh Fest. On the day of the show, you know, he had like some type of appearance out in a park in one of the projects near King Memorial Station, and a project near King Memorial, and he had his turntable set up, and he was cutting good times back and forth. So it was like, oh, okay, all right. So Flash, Jazzy Jeff, Cash Money. Then locally, you know, Sade was popping back then. Sade had a DJ by the name of DJ Man.
Yes.
Who was making mixtapes with this crew called the J Team. He was also spinning at this teen club in Decatur called Club Atlantis, which is where, you know, most people from Decatur, you know, they'll tell you that it's where Jazzy T's was located, the legendary strip club Jazzy T's.
Right.
So Man used to DJ in this club like every weekend alongside other DJs like Radio Red and, you know, some other people. And Man, you know, Man was, you know, if I had to compare him to anybody skill-wise, I would say that he was Atlanta's version of Cash Money and Jazzy Jeff, because that's how nice he was. You know,
got you.
You know, the mixes, you know, the mixtapes, he would do a lot of cutting on them, you know, and, you know, so, hey, some of the scratches you would hear, you know, on the mixtape, you know, they were just as clean as any that you were hearing on records back then.
Okay.
So DJ Man was the guy. Now, also at this time, you had DJ Toomp on the west side. Okay, you know, Decatur's east side. Then on the west side, you got DJ Toomp.
Okay, so
right?
All right, so hold on. So right now, are we talking mid 80s? We're talking late 80s right now at this point.
Yeah, we're talking like 86.
Got you. So we're talking mid 80s going into the late 80s. We're talking about Atlanta, Georgia. We're talking about the hip hop scene, and you mentioned DJ Man and DJ Toomp. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, Sade has Man DJing for him, and then also, like I said, on the west side, you had Toomp, who was the DJ for Raheem the Dream. Raheem the Dream came out with a self-titled single with, you know, full of scratches, you know, from Toomp. And again, hey, you go back and do your research on these records, you can hear Toomp doing scratches that are just as clean as any other records that you heard coming out of New York and LA, right?
Right. And we're talking about the foundation right now of Atlanta's hip-hop history. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So you know, this is, you know, Atlanta. We hadn't really developed our, you know, what's known as our sound yet. You know, like at this time, Atlanta was still trying to emulate what was going on in New York.
Right.
You know, I think everybody around the country was still trying to, you know what I mean? We were also starting to get influenced by Miami at this time, because, you know, Luke Skywalker Records, of course, Sade had left the small label he was on to sign with Luke. So, you know, you had Sade, Anquiet, Two Live Crew, you know, all these records that are coming from Florida got the heavy 808, you know, so that sound, you know, that was a thing in Atlanta. Like, if your record didn't have no bass in it, niggas wasn't fucking with your record.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
Or at least, as far as like riding around in your car, riding out to it. See, cars are very important down here in Atlanta.
Right.
Whereas car culture in New York, like no one has cars pretty much. Everyone is on the train and cabs and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So the things that we gravitated towards, had to have that thump in them. So our hip hop scene at the time, which was now starting to grow a little bit. Now it's not just Mojo and Shadi and Raheem. It's Kilo. It's Success and Effect. You had groups like NRG. These people. You had the Hard Boys and Kilo. So the sound was kind of pretty much booty shake. And at that time, my ears were starting to perk up. Just really like soak up things musically. Because there was another guy in my neighborhood who was from the Bronx who had the ultimate breaks and beats back then, but he actually had the originals with the octopus on the label.
Okay, right.
He turned me and my guy Booby on to these records, and it's like we just kind of started listening to records in a whole new way now. Like now, at first the thing we used to key in on is the scratching. Or or the how much bass the tune has in it, blah blah blah, right? But now, because of these breaks, it's like, oh shit, we're some of the things on this record we're hearing, in songs by Run DMC and Rakim and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, Atlanta started getting more musical. Kilo. He was an artist who successfully balanced that middle ground of booty shake and hip hop, because like on his albums, one side would be booty shake and the other side would be hip hop, where he'd be like really really rhyming on shit, right? And he had a DJ by the name of Red Money, who's also a hell of a producer in his own right now. That's a motherfucker you need to interview.
Okay, all right. Well, we can get to that, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Kilo's rhyming. Like he has nice cadences. He's rhyming over samples. Red Money chopping shit up. And then on the other side, heavy booty material. Then, crisscross was a thing. But of course we know that was for the kids.
Right.
Jermaine had, prior to crisscross, he had Silk Tom's Leather and Javier and the Straight Jackers.
Right. And I believe that was on, if I'm not mistaken, that was on Ichiban Records. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Javier was on Ichiban, Silk Tom's Leather. They were on a major label. They were on Guessing.
Got you. Okay. And this is a young Jermaine Dupri. Okay.
So that was the success he had. Obviously, crisscross was the one that blew him the fuck up.
Right.
I'm trying to, lay a good foundation, because I know you're like, okay, you're talking about a whole bunch of other people, really back into your story. So
well, what I'm trying to do is I want to build, the storyline and talk about you and how, because my next question is going to be is how did you make a name for yourself in Atlanta with all of this upcoming talent and all these people, starting to grow into their own Atlanta sound and making these hit records. How did you start making a name for yourself?
I started making a name for myself. Initially, I was trying to make records. I was trying to make records, basically. I had a friend that was rapping, and we would go to studios and record stuff.
And so what year would you say this is?
We had our first studio session in September of 89.
89. Wow. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, we were out in Norcross at this studio called Polaris Recording Studio. Errol and Yolanda Kingsbury were our engineers. I didn't know how to work none of the equipment, so I had to tell them the parts that I wanted to sample. They would do the sampling. They would, I didn't know how to do none of that shit. But I had a good ear for putting stuff together, and we made over the course of 2.5 to 3 years, we went to the studio a lot. We were performing at local shows around town. You know, like we opened for Tribe Called Quest.
So who is we?
My MC. No one knows him, but you know, I'm gonna go ahead and put his name out there. So his real name is Brian, right?
Okay.
His real name is Brian. Middle name was Avery, and so his rap name was B.A. Mac, right? Because his last name was McFarland.
Wow. Okay. So wait. Yeah. So it was it B.A. Mac and DJ Jaycee? What was it? What was it?
It was Mac and Jaycee at first.
Got you.
Right. So, you know, we were, you know, at this time it was just the two of us. So, you know, for a couple of years, you know, like I said, we had recorded some songs, blah, blah. We was doing local shows around the city. And we changed the name of the group from Mac and JC to the Smooth Stylist.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The Smooth Stylist. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. You know.
Hey, it's a part of your history. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah. So you know, we're doing these shows, you know, opening for Tribe at Emory University. And we opened up for Redman. We opened up for Gangstar.
Wow.
And Arrested Development and KRS-One. Well, it was still Boogie Down Productions. But then my MC got his girlfriend at the time pregnant.
Okay.
And at that point, it was like, you know, it got real for him.
Right.
So he gave up rapping, like just totally gave it up. Well, he got saved first, and then he gave up rapping.
Got you. So now you're on your own.
Yeah, so now I'm on my own. It's like, oh, shit. Okay, so now one of the clubs that we did, you know, where we did a couple of shows at was this club called the Phoenix, which was a hot spot in downtown Atlanta that was very, very close to the AU Center, which at the time, Clark, Atlanta, Spelman, Morris Brown, you know, Morris Brown was still open back then, but it's closed now.
Right.
But Clark, Atlanta, Spelman, Morris Brown, and Morehouse. So Phoenix was very close. Phoenix was always popping on Fridays and Saturdays. So I came to the Phoenix and I brought 4 crates of records in with me because, you know, from doing the shows, I had a little face card, kind of, you know, I guess you could say, you know. So I tried to just basically make my face card count for something. I started showing up to clubs with records. And at the time, Lil Jon, yes, that Lil Jon, was one of the main DJs at the Phoenix. It was Lil Jon, this guy named Dose, cat from the Midwest with a Jerry curl by the name of DJ Slice, and sometimes Emperor Cersei would. Well, you know, he wasn't Emperor Cersei back then. He was just regular DJ Cersei.
Gotcha.
So they used to play, but they would let me DJ toward the end of the night. You know, now parties at that time, you know, closed. You know, parties were over at 4:00. So, you know, they would make me wait till like 3:15 before I could get on, right? But nonetheless, I would get on, and I just kind of started playing the way I was playing my stuff was just a little bit different than what everybody else was doing. Like I was doing like more scratching, you know, more doubles type stuff,
right?
You know, whereas everybody else, they just kind of just played records. So it started getting to the point where, you know, people would see me, and then they started letting me on earlier. You know, sometimes I would get on like 1:30, 2:00. So now, I'm playing at the Phoenix. You know, kind of. You know, like I was still wasn't quite ready for prime time at this point, but I was also doing college radio at this time, 88.5. Which, if you're from Atlanta, you know, 88.5 was the station that you listened to on Sunday nights to hear hip hop that you would never hear on V103.
It's the college station, so they got leeway. They can play what they want,
yes.
Right?
Yes. And at this time, Atlanta had 2 college stations. You know, there was 88.5, which was Georgia State University, and then there was 91.1, which was WREK, Georgia Tech's radio station. Then there was a community radio station as well, WRFG, which was 89.3. 89.3 was the station that at this time you could play things uncensored. So there was a show that came on Wednesdays from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. called Rough, Rugged, and Raw. And when I tell you, language-wise, the music was definitely rough, rugged, and raw. They were playing things like, Street Military. They were playing UGK, Pocket Full of Stones. You know, like this was the shit that they were playing this shit on the radio. You know, of course, late night.
They were so they were playing curses and all of that.
Curses and all that.
So clearly, the FCC did not know about this radio station at the time.
No, they knew. You know, because again, it's a community station. It's just, you know, that particular block of time was the only time, you know, where you could play content with, you know, that had explicit lyrics in it.
Okay, got you. All right.
So yeah, so these were the stations that you listened to when you wanted to hear, you know, any kind of hip hop in Atlanta. So by me being a part, you know, of the being a part of the crew, you know, that does the show on 88.5, I was doing guest appearances. You know, maybe like once a month. You know, I'm rocking on the radio. You know, I befriended some Kappas who went to UGA. They had a radio show on their, you know, on the campus, 90.5. So I would DJ on that show, and then this is how the AKAs on campus heard me DJing. So basically, through the Kappas and the AKAs, I started doing a whole lot of things at UGA, as well as things that I was doing back in Atlanta. So now, you know, we'll say 92 to about 95 is where my name is starting to ring off now.
Got you. So you said that you felt like you started DJing in 93, and I think you started before that, because there's a lot of people that DJ in their basement, and then there's people who DJ publicly, and it sounded like you were DJing publicly in the late 80s, personally, going into the 90s. So maybe, you know, that's just my personal assessment. But
I don't count that.
Okay. So now, all right, fine. So we're in the early 90s, right?
Yeah, early 90s.
And DJ Jaycee is making a name for himself on college campuses, on college radio, and in the clubs, right? So, all right. So now, talk to me about this. In 1995, I believe, if I'm correct, you were featured on DJ Nav's radio show, The Thunderstorm, on V103, right?
Yep.
So now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about your transition, because again, up to this point, it was college radio, it was college shows, it was a few clubs, but I believe in 95, you being featured on Nav's show, which was on V103, was a big jump. So talk to me about that.
So the way that happened was, you know, I met Nabs back in '89. You know, I met him at a DJ battle that we were both in. He won. And after that battle, I probably, you know, I didn't see him for maybe about a year. But I remember going to this club that was popular called Club Excess, and he was the DJ there alongside this guy named DJ Herb. So we're talking 1991, and I just remember hearing him and Herb. They were like the perfect tag team, the perfect complement to each other. You know, like they're both dangerous on the cuts. You know, they know their music. The programming is excellent. So he started doing the crisscross stuff, which obviously, you know his story. You know, he went on the world tour with Michael Jackson.
Absolutely.
So 93, Escape was getting ready to come out. He invited me to come try out to be a tour DJ for Escape. So I came to the audition. You know, I didn't know shit about tour DJing back then. You know, so I wasn't really tripping off the fact that they didn't pick me, right?
Okay.
But you know, through that, I just kind of stayed in contact with Nabs, right?
Right.
So let's go back to 95. Before he invited me, what prompted him to invite me to spin on his show? I was doing a set at this club called Club Velvet, and at this time, like I was playing like a lot of hip hop, like the Loonies, and what the shit that was popping summer '95.
Right. All the popular records, yes.
And then I played Camp Low, Cooley High. As soon as I played it, Nab came in the booth, wanted to know what it was. I'm tripping off the fact that he didn't know what the fuck it was.
And you're talking about Lucchini, right? That particular record?
No. Their first record, Cooley High.
Okay, got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, because Lucchini didn't come out until the fall of '96.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so he was like, "Hey, man, V103, they got me mixing on the radio every day of the week. I want to invite you to come up to my show, and I want you to do a set on my show where you can play this type of shit. 'Cause he's trying to figure out, how to make his how to incorporate everything into his show, right?
Right.
At this time, we had a brand new hip hop station that had just come to the city. It was Hot 97.5, right?
Okay.
So their presence, the fact that they're playing hip hop 24 hours a day, and Atlanta had never had anything like that caused V103 to start adding hip hop to their rotation.
Right. It took some of their listeners, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, Hot 97.5's, their signal was kind of terrible for the most part. So, they didn't really pose a real threat ratings-wise, but musically, for sure. So,
right.
So what happened was they brought Nabs in, to keep people from turning the hot. So they literally had Nabs. Like Nabs will tell you, he was DJing he was DJing 7 nights a week.
Wow.
That's it, from 10 to 12. Right. They had even took the Quiet Storm off the radio for a few months.
Wow. Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So Nabs is DJing 7 days a week. So, I come do a set. Then what happens is PD at the time, this guy named Tony Brown, he liked what I was playing so much to the point where anytime that Nabs needed to go out of town, Nabs would have me fill in for him because the PD liked my style.
Okay.
Right. And I guess you could kind of say me and Nabs, we had the same style, basically, like we didn't sound like each other, but we both, we knew how to trick out on records, and, we knew when and where to cut, as far as radio, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
So I did a hell of a lot of guest appearances, because Nabs was doing more crisscross stuff in addition to doing stuff for the Brat and Escape. Like he was always gone.
Right.
So so basically after about a good 7 or 8 months of filling in, basically I would probably fill in for him like twice a month.
Okay, got you.
They hired me in May of '96, like right before the Olympics came to Atlanta. So
this is right before Atlanta really blew up.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
We had Outkast. We had Outkast. We had Goodie. Crisscross. Obviously. TLC.
Right.
Development. So yeah, the scene was starting to. The scene was starting to change now.
Right.
Now we got people like Greg Street on the radio. Who's coming in from Texas, and he's playing so much Southern stuff on the radio that now Atlanta is starting to have that hometown pride about itself.
Right. It's starting to come into its own. Go ahead.
Because remember how I told you we used to emulate other places, right?
Right.
We were emulating other places so much that people, like before Outkast and Goodie really took off the way that they did, you couldn't really find people that were proud to admit they were from Atlanta, right? Like you can hear Organized Noise say this if you watch their documentary that was on Netflix a few years ago.
Right.
Like it would be times where motherfuckers would be in a club in Atlanta and a motherfucker would get on the mic and be like, "Is New York in the house?" And everybody'd be like, "Oh." It's just more motherfuckers wanting to claim up north than other areas. Yeah, it was really like that.
Right.
Then,
because even with Crisscross, which is what seems to have blew Atlanta up and put Atlanta really on the map nationally from a hip hop standpoint, even their music was East Coast driven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of that stuff sounded Southern. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Like if I tell you, if I were to tell you that the King of Crunk in his DJ sets would be on the mic talking about keep it real, kid, and represent. And it was a whole lot of ATL folks who was representing and keeping it real, B.
Well, I've also heard that Lil Jon really played a lot of reggae, not as Southern as you would believe any of these people, to be, right?
Yeah, Lil Jon, to his credit, man, like he was into a lot of stuff because he went to Douglas High and he used to throw these parties, because there was a time when I was working at this mall. I was working at Greenbrier Mall. I worked in a record shop, Peppermint Records.
Okay.
And some of his classmates, they would come to school, come to work, talking about, some of the parties Lil Jon, was having, like at his crib. They say he would play stuff like U2 and Depeche Mode and 808 State and Information Society, as well as Run DMC and Public Enemy and all that stuff. So he was into a whole lot of shit. He was into the skateboard scene. He was into a whole lot of shit. So he used to have these parties called the Old E and Fried Chicken parties. And so many different styles of music would be played. And this is where Jermaine came to one of the parties, and that's when he made Lil Jon his A&R. Lil Jon was JD's first A&R at So Def.
So as all this is going on, I believe you ended up getting your own radio show called the Late Night Mixtape. Talk to me about that.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, Nabs had walked me in the door. When I would come on, my show would come on right after Nabs on Saturday mornings at midnight, from midnight to 2. And at first, the name of the show was called Club V103. That's what it was called at first.
Okay.
For about a year, maybe 13 months, other people were. I hadn't developed a voice yet, right? So I was pretty much just the music on my show. But then like I'm at this time I'm hearing tapes of like Future Flavors in New York, so I'm hearing how Evil D and all these people are sounding, how they talk, while they're playing music. And then also when Nabs was like my biggest example, because while he would mix, he would also run the boards and talk. So Nabs ended up leaving V103 to go to Hot, right? So I went to my PD and I was like, hey, I know how I want my show to sound. Let me do an air check. Now at first, like I said, I never really did any talking. I was pretty much like Russell Simmons on Def Comedy Jam. At the end of the show, I would just shout out Decatur or College Park or whatever, and then get the fuck off the radio.
Right.
But so I asked him to let me do an air check. He kind of laughed at me first, like, sure, go ahead. Just thinking that I was gonna fuck it up, right? So I went in there and I went in the studio, knocked out all the liners, and brought him the tape back, and he was like, yo. Not only am I going to let you host your own show, but I'm going to give you a whole different time slot now. So at first, like I said, I was on midnight to 2. But then he put me on technically Friday night now. I'm coming on 10 o'clock to 12, right after Greg Street. So I got a good little lead in, I'm on the mic. I'm hosting. Of course I was nervous at first, maybe nervous as fuck the first three weeks.
Right.
But I got the hang of it. And then, all of a sudden, hey, I got my own show. Now, it was still called Club V103 at this point.
Okay.
There came a time where I almost left V103 to go over to Hot, because I went to the Gavin convention and I got in trouble. Because some of the music I brought back from the Gavin convention, I was playing it on the radio, and then I ran afoul of our time clock. So they suspended me. They suspended me for a couple weeks, and then when I came back, they changed my time slot for me to come on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, you're used to doing radio in what's considered prime time.
Right.
You look at 2 a.m. like it's a demotion.
Right.
Like, oh man, ain't nobody gonna be listening to the fucking radio at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh man, right?
Yeah, but this is Atlanta, so that's a different story. Go ahead.
So, it was like, okay, it's either do this or leave V and go to Hot, where they already got like 9 mixers, and you be going over there trying to fight for space. So just take this situation and make it whatever the fuck you can make it.
Right, absolutely.
right? So I decided to stay. They said I could play whatever the fuck I wanted to play. So like I have never ever had to adhere to a playlist of any kind on commercial radio. Not never.
Wow.
Right? So I'm talking about from 2 to 4.
Not many people can say that, by the way. Go ahead.
So from 2 to 4, I'm playing everything. I mean, I'm talking about, man. And it got to the point where people were really listening to the radio late at night because the shit that I was playing was totally different than what the fuck ever was going on, period. Like, you know, yeah, I knew how to play the quote unquote hits, but at the same time, I'm also exposing you to fucking Slum Village and things like this, you know.
Right. So was it now called the Late Night Mixtape?
Yes, this is when I changed it to the Late Night Mixtape.
Gotcha.
And so yeah, that was from the top of '98 until I started touring with Luda. I did my very first show in September of 2000.
So again, it looks like the radio is what kept you busy in the 90s, right? In 2000, you started touring with Ludacris. Talk to me about how did that even come about?
Okay, well, that came about. Initially, he wanted me to scratch on a record because by now, you know, of course, you know his radio story. So me and Nabs, like I said, we were working at different stations, but we were still cool. So you know, Nabs had this Sunday night party called Old School Sundays, and I was one of the DJs there.
And that was at Club Kaya, correct?
Club Kaya, yes.
Yes, sir.
Right, which is right down the street from V103.
Right.
So this spot was so popping, you know, Chris would come through there, you know, with his radio partner, Poon Daddy. Luda would see me DJing at Kaya, basically. And, you know, of course, he knew, you know, that I had won a few battles. And sometimes, you know, like when he would come to Kaya, he would see me scratch, you know, during my sets or whatever. So, you know, he used to be like, hey, man, you know, I want to, you know, get you to scratch on one of these records. And while that didn't happen, what ended up happening was, you know, he put out his album independently. And then he was like, hey, you know, when he did the single release for What's Your Fantasy, he told me that he was going to start doing shows. He was like, hey, you know, when I really start doing a whole bunch of shows, you know, I want to bring you on the road with me. So he laid that foundation in my ear. He put that in my ear like about 3 or 4 months before it actually happened. September 2000, I did my first show with him in Cleveland. And from that point until September of 2011, like I was traveling the motherfucking world.
So you were Ludacris's tour DJ for basically 11 years, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So quickly, just talk to me about, because now remember, you had mentioned earlier that you tried out to be Escape's tour DJ and got rejected. And so it was because you really didn't have the experience of being a tour DJ and whatever their reasons were, right? So this whole time you've been a DJ, you've been a competitive DJ. You've DJ'd in clubs and on the radio. Now you're a tour DJ for 11 years strong for Ludacris. All over the world, he became a mega superstar. Just talk to me quickly about that experience.
You know, when it first started, had no idea. You know, I had no idea he would turn into the star, you know, that he turned into. You know, like I really thought that it was something that would, you know, maybe he would do 2 albums, you know, because I was really thinking like, okay, yeah, I'll do this for a couple of years and then, you know, come back to V103. But when Throw Them Bows took off as a single,
it was over.
Shit, it was motherfucking over. You know, because the shows that we were doing prior to Throw Them Bows, you know, we were kind of regional. You know, we were Jacksonville, Florida. We were Chattanooga, Memphis, Greensboro, North Carolina, Raleigh, you know, Jackson, Mississippi. But then Throw Them Bows came. Shit. Howard Homecoming, Philly, Baltimore. You know, then, of course, performing on TRL, you know, like Boston, Philly. You know, we're doing appearances on Jenny Jones' talk show. We go on tour with Outkast. you know, like it just turned into a whole different kind of animal. And, you know, of course, him appearing on, you know, he was the go-to guy for the hot verse, you know, the hot guest verse for about, you know, 3 or 4 years. So
absolutely.
You know, yeah, man, you know, getting on planes and going to Brazil and Australia and Africa and Japan and Germany, you know, it was shit.
Amazing.
You know,
Right.
Yeah, it was a good time, man.
Absolutely. So 11 years, Ludacris tour DJ. So after that stint, it looks like you go back to radio and V103. So what did you like more? DJing in the clubs? Did you like competition DJing? Did you like the radio or tour DJing? What seemed to be, you know, more of a comfort zone for you?
You know, at that point in the game, I was comfortable at all of it.
Gotcha.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
So why'd you go back to radio? Why'd you go back to V103?
Well, I actually came back to radio while I was still touring. You know, I came back to radio in 2008.
Okay.
Because at this point, you heard me mention DJ Herb a few minutes ago. You know, this guy who used to DJ with Nabs at Club Excess back in the day.
Right.
But at this point, Herb was working at V103, and he was a producer. He was a producer for Ryan Cameron's afternoon show, in addition to being the DJ at noon, you know, playing old school joints, right? So one day, Herb called me and asked me if I wanted to come back to do radio. So I was like, the only way I'll come back to, because at this point, I'm hearing, you know, and I'm traveling so much, but I'm still grounded. I'm still listening to radio everywhere I go, and I'm noticing that everywhere I go, people are playing the same fucking records. Like, you know, every city used to have like their own regional sound, you know,
right.
on the radio.
Yeah, radio changed a lot over that time frame you were on tour. No doubt about it.
You know, so people that I was friends with a lot of guys that worked in different radio stations around the country, and it got to the point where people were like, man, you know, man, they're cracking down. You know, PDs are talking about, you know, we can only play, you know, records off of a list and right? So,
right.
You know, so when Herb hit me, I was like, hey, man, I don't want to come back to radio if I don't have no freedom to play, you know. And he was like, nah, bro, you good. Trust me. I know what you do. You'll kill it. So at this point, you know, he goes back to Reggie Rouse, who was the PD at that time. You know, he sailed for having my first meeting with Reggie in August 2008. When I met him, he said, hey, man, you're the guy, so do whatever the fuck you want. As long as it's old school. Play whatever you want, as long as it's old school. So I was like, okay, I did that. August 2009. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, May 17, 2016 was the day I got fired. Got fired because all of a sudden the records I was playing were too old now.
Here goes another change in radio, right?
Yeah. So, you know, and of course that's the PC version, you know, because there was a whole bunch of other bullshit happening behind the scenes.
Right.
But got fired because the music I was playing was too old. So also, you know, we got to dial it back a little bit because, you know, also, like I said, I got fired from the Ludacris situation too. So when that happened, due to some shit that I said on social media, which if you look at what I actually said, it wasn't really disrespectful, right? You know, I didn't get on Twitter saying fuck Luda, fuck, you know, like I didn't do any of that. Basically, I made mention of the fact that Luda didn't hire me to do any of the DJing during Luda Day weekend. It was a tweet that went viral. You know, I wasn't expecting what I said to go viral, but it went viral because Julia Beverly from Ozone Magazine, she retweeted it.
Okay.
You know, Titty Boy, 2 Chainz, you know, who was going through his little dispute with DTP at the time.
Right.
He retweeted it as well.
So everyone who seemed to possibly have a problem with DTP, maybe Shaka or maybe Luda at the time, decided to chime in and retweet and, you know, kind of, you know, make it a little bit bigger than what it was or what you would initially wanted it to be, right?
You know, because I wasn't, you know, it wasn't really coming from a place of malice. You know, it was just, you know, at this time, Luda Day weekend had been going on in the city for 7 years, and you know, all the parties and you know all the things, all the events. I never got to DJ at none of that shit.
Okay, so hold on, let me get this straight. You were his tour DJ
Yes.
But he never uses you to DJ any of his events that happen in Atlanta.
None.
So that's interesting. I could see where the frustration would come from.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? No question about it. So, okay. So the radio, 2000.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get fired from being Luda's DJ. Fine. Okay. And you had already went back to radio. So now you're on the radio. Okay. 2016, you get fired from radio. All right. Okay.
Yep.
So is this the point where you decide to go back to competing as a DJ? Because I understand, and I know we talked about it earlier, because, you know, you have been a competition DJ for years, you know, doing battles in Atlanta and whatnot. But I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, in 2015, you placed in the Red Bull 3 style and the DMC battles. So talk to me a little bit about your return to the battle circuit.
Okay. So, you know, I had, you know, there were some battles that had come through Atlanta. I had been asked to judge a few, you know, like between the years of 2006, maybe to 2013. You know, I had judged maybe good 6 or 7 battles. But at that time, you know, battling, I wasn't thinking about it, you know, but what would happen, I would notice is after the battles would be over, I would just go home and get on the tables. And then I would just be like, oh man, I could have won this shit.
Okay.
You know, we all have our cocky moments, I guess you could say, you know, and I was just like,
some more than others, but yes, absolutely. I
was just kind of the opinion to myself, like, okay, well, shit, I still practice every day. And so we'll see. So what happened for a long, like I did 3 style before I did DMC. So there was a thing on the internet where Jazzy Jeff had issued invitations for people to send their little tryout videos in for Red Bull 3 style.
Right.
Because for a long time, for years, everybody that was in 3 style was handpicked. You know, it wasn't nothing, you know, that everybody had access to, right?
Right.
So this is the year that they made the submission public. So I think the deadline to send the video in was Halloween of 2014. So I remember sending my little video in. Now I'm in my video because, you know, the game is you got to show them that you can play 3 different styles of music. So in my video, I'm playing like Stephanie Mills. You know, I'm Stephanie Mills acapella blends over Outkast beats. I'm playing Nas. I'm playing U2. I'm playing Q-Tip. I'm playing Maroon 5. So, you know, 5 minutes, I send my little video in. And then a couple months later, I get a response like, yo, we like your video. We're going to put you, we're going to have a regional battle and if you win this regional battle, you get to go to the U.S. finals. So they had this battle in Charlotte. I was up against 5 other DJs, and I won. You know, they liked my 15-minute set. U.S. finals were in Phoenix. I went out there, didn't place. But when I got back to Atlanta, I saw something online where DMC was coming to Atlanta in a couple weeks. So I was like, okay, well, I'm still in competition mode.
Right.
So let me just continue practicing, but just really just be on some turntable shit.
Right, absolutely.
And, I entered DMC under an alias. You know, I entered it under Ron Burgundy because
okay.
It was the art of surprise.
Right.
You know, because at the battles that where I was judging, like people would see me, and you know, sometimes, you know, like there were examples of people saying, "Man, I'm glad you wasn't in the battle, because you know, if I would have known that you were going to be in the battle, I wouldn't have got in it."
Right. Well, see, and that's the reason why I brought it up, because it's just interesting when I started researching a little bit of, you know, about you that I didn't know. It's interesting that you decided to get back into battling, you know, at such a late time in your career, when you would think that, you know, everything that you've accomplished and who you are, you'd be a judge. You wouldn't actually be competing. So that's why, you know, I was just interested, you know, to know why you decided to compete again, you know, because we're, you know, what we talking about 2-3 years ago, right? About 3 years ago, maybe. And because I also know that you, I understand you were an instructor at the Scratch DJ Academy there in Atlanta for a little while too, right?
Yep. From from the time it opened, which was February 2014 until February 2018.
So
I did that. I had a show on Scratch Vision.
Right. Okay. So wait. So is your motivation just the competitive spirit inside of you to get back into competing?
I mean, it was just like, I just felt like all these years I had shown like how versatile I was.
Right.
Like at least here in the city, there's nobody that you can talk to in the city that really like knows about DJing in the city. There's nobody that you can talk to that will be able to tell you that I didn't do my thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
I've been consistent in every kind of category across the board, right?
Right.
So it was just like, okay, my ear is still good. I practice every day on things that I like to practice on. So I just wanted to try my hand at it, just to show people I am the complete motherfucking embodiment of what DJing is.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
I ain't trying to be like the top dog, or whatever, but like I just wanted to basically say that there's nothing I haven't done.
Absolutely. And I get it. And just like, and I'm sure when you were in some of them competitions most recently, some of the judges probably looked over and realized it was you and was like, what are you doing? Right. So, it's just interesting, but, hats off to you because, again, I think that it just shows that you're still grounded and you still got that hunger as a DJ. A lot of guys are old and lazy and don't want to do nothing. You know what I mean? So let's talk about something that's in the now. Talk to me about eargasms.
Okay, eargasms. It's my monthly party that I've been doing since September of 2012. But before it was a party, it was a brand of mixes that I used to do. I did my first eargasms mixtape in February 2008 because at this time I wasn't back on the radio. At this time, Luda was kind of going through one of his cold periods musically. So I honestly didn't know how much longer, I was thinking like, oh shit, shit is getting kind of cold around here. So let me show people that I do more than tour, that I'm more than someone's tour DJ. Right.
Right.
So I put this mix together. It was basically just, all right, here's some real creative shit. Here's some good soulful digging in the crates type shit. Like you could just listen to this mix and tell like, okay, this motherfucker knows his music basically. And he loves his music. So I did about 8 volumes of those and a few other mixtapes because again, I was trying to show people, my range as a DJ. And, I always loved the name of the eargasm. I always loved that word. One of my mom's favorite albums was Eargasms by Johnny Taylor, because Disco Lady was her shit.
Right, absolutely.
So that was just always a name that I wanted to latch. I've latched onto that name for, that name has been in my system for years. So I just wanted to turn it into something tangible. So it was mixtapes at first, and then it turned into a party. Because I needed to have a creative outlet because, when I got fired from the Ludacris situation, a lot of my bookings that I used to get, off of the strength of, being Luda's tour DJ, all that shit started drying up. Like I literally, people weren't booking me. Even though I was on the radio every day, I didn't have nowhere to spend in Atlanta.
Okay.
Even like I said, you could hear me Monday through Friday. You could even go online. You could see me. you could watch me live streaming.
Right.
From the station. You could clearly see that I know what the fuck I'm doing, but like nobody was fucking with me. Like I don't know whether it was hate or maybe I was blackballed. I don't know. I just know that DJing it was hard to earn a dollar off of DJing after I got fired from the Ludacris situation.
Wow. So that spawned you to do the mixtapes and then start creating your own monthly event.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha.
So I did about 5 or 6 of them, and at first, it was kind of hard getting people through the door. You know, like I didn't, you know, I didn't experience instant success with it. And I came very close to leaving Atlanta because I had, like I said, I had done about 6 of them where hardly nobody came, and like I would be in bed at home and in bed by 2 o'clock. That's how dead my parties were in the beginning.
Wow. Okay.
But then I don't know what the fuck happened, you know, this particular time, but like at about 1 o'clock in the morning, a steady stream of people just started showing up, started coming through the door. They paid. They paid, and they stayed until the lights came on.
So needless to say, Eargasms, the event finally took off.
Yeah, you know, it started getting, you know, some steam.
Right.
You know, and, you know, I'm not the greatest promoter, you know, like promoting is not one of my strong suits. You know, I know I got to get better at it. Matter of fact, I got a gig tonight.
Well, as we know, the turntables always keep spinning. So aside from your gig tonight, you went back on the road. And talk to me. You're now currently Goodie Mob's tour DJ, correct?
Yes.
Talk to me about how that happened really quickly before we get out of here.
Hey, man, that shit came out of the blue. Like, there was a point in time, man, where I really, where shit really got real for me. And I got back, I entered the workforce, you know, so I was working for MARTA.
Okay.
You know, like literally, I had not had a quote unquote job in a long fucking time, right? So
right.
I'm on the job. One night, I'm on my break, and you know, like I had just posted a video of me cutting up a Michael Jackson record, just for, you know, shits and giggles. And on my break, in my DM, Goodie's road manager at the time was like, "So, boys got some shows coming up, and they want to meet with you." I was like, "Word?"
Right.
Okay. All right. So, did my first show with Goodie Mob in May of 2018. And yeah, man, I've been, you know, it's good to be back at it.
So needless to say, you don't work at the MARTA no more, no?
No.
Well, that's good news, man. So tell me, what projects you're working on now?
Man, I'm trying to get into production, man. You know, like this is another thing that you know, like I got my ears still work. You know, I'm learning my way around, you know, some equipment, and you know, I think I want to start finally, you know, making some motherfucking music, man. So like, you know, every now and then, you know, most people see me online just kind of practicing, you know, every day or on my DJing or whatever. But you know, it's sometimes where I don't touch the turntables and I, you know, plug my machine in, and you know, I chop up a few samples.
Right.
You know, and you know, try to, you know, put some things together. So,
well,
you know, there are a couple of local MCs that have caught my ear, and you know, I've submitted a couple of things.
Well,
but, you know, nothing that's in stone, you know, thus far. But
well, you know, we look forward to any projects that you may deliver in the future. I mean, you're an incredible turntablist, an incredible DJ, battle DJ. I mean, you clearly have an extensive radio background, tour DJ background, battle DJ background, and I can't wait to see, you know, the next Goodie Mob show where you up there, you know, cutting those records. You know.
Yeah, they give me a little solo, you know.
Oh, you got to have that. I mean, you know, again, from Atlanta's point of view, when it comes to turntablists, who I think of, you know, off top is, you know, DJ Nabs, and DJ Toom, DJ Man, and Jaycee. You know what I mean? And
DJ Lord.
Right, DJ Lord, and of course there's more obviously, but you know, but when you look at it, you know, you stand out, you know, for real hip hop and turntablism out of Atlanta. You know what I mean? And I think your legacy is set in stone. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it.
Well, Jaycee, how can our listeners continue to follow you?
Hey man, you know, they can follow me on Instagram, DJ Jaycee 313. You know, just because, hey, I still got that Detroit. You know, like I'm never letting it go. Right.
Right.
Atlanta, but yeah, DJ Jaycee 313 on Instagram. You can also use that for Facebook, and then, you know, on Twitter, you have it's twitter.com /DJ JAYCEE. I'm also on Mixcloud, There's tons of mixes of mine on Mixcloud, also on SoundCloud.
And I seen you hanging out at the playlist retreat too. I was jealous. I saw you there. You know what I mean? With all the greats, Jeff and Scratch and
hey,
all
man.
that. So
shout out to Jeff, man. Hey man, Jeff is one of the most incredible human beings. Not just a DJ, but just a motherfucking incredible human being.
Yes, sir. Yes. So, salute
Amen.
DJ Jazzy Jeff. But I want to salute you as well, Jaycee. Okay.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. And you're listening to Vinyl Esquire, the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and salutes our legends. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. So, salute Vinyl Esquire, for real.
Yes, sir. This is Vinyl Esquire, and you're now listening to DJ Jaycee.
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, the podcast that delivers culture, truth, music.
Rappers might be willing, but they ain't able, cause I was that king straight from my cradle. I screamed and hollered and shook my rattle. Dreamt of defeated them all in battle. Dreamt of defeated them all in battle. Dreamt of defeated them, dreamt of defeated, dreamt of defeated them, dreamt of defeated, dreamt of defeated them, all of defeated, dreamt of defeated them, all of defeated, dreamt of defeated them, defeated them, defeated them, defeated them, defeated them, defeated, dreamt of defeated, dreamt of defeated, dreamt of defeated. But no food in my silver spoon. I'm the bow-legged brother, the never be brother. I'm the bow-legged brother, the never be another. I'm the bow-legged brother, never be another. Bought man, for my mother. Bought a mansion, bought a man, bought man, for mother.
Do you understand? Do you understand? Or may I do my usual? Oh! Show your love to my man.